A powerful storm system is making its way into the United States, bringing a potential for strong tornadoes, damaging winds, and very large hail. A lot of moisture is surging up into the United States from the Gulf, and a lot of instability is coming into a big portion of the United States. And a storm system is going to come into the Gulf off of the southeast coast of the United States with a 10% chance of development. I'm going to be breaking down what you need to know about the severe weather. Jump right into it. We have a pretty significant chance for severe weather today out here in parts of the northern plains, as the Storm Prediction Center has issued an enhanced risk of severe weather out here, where we have a potential for strong tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail. You can see that we also have another chance for severe weather out here in the mid-Atlantic, and another one down here in parts of Texas over there into Oklahoma. We do have a 10% tornado risk up here for parts of northwestern South Dakota and southwestern North Dakota. This is going to be our main area that we're watching for tornadoes today. It's also marked with a Sig 1, meaning that strong tornadoes are possible. We could also see maybe a few tornadoes outside of that 10% within these 2% and 5% tornado risk. We also have another elevated tornado risk down here in parts of Tennessee, and like the Nashville, Tennessee area. So I do think a few tornadoes will be a possibility down there. We do have a threat for very strong winds today in western North Dakota and eastern Montana. Winds getting up to potentially 80 to 90 miles an hour. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that, because that is going to be a very big concern. If we get storms to form out here in Texas and southwestern Oklahoma, then we do have the potential for 75 mile per hour plus winds. But out here, we're mainly looking at 60 to 70 in the mid-Atlantic all the way into the Ohio Valley. We're also looking at a threat for some large to very large hail, mainly up here in the northern plains today. As we get into tomorrow on Sunday, we will have another severe weather threat across a large portion of the northern United States, as you can see right here, where we do have a potential for some damaging winds and hail. Right now, the Storm Prediction Center does not have a tornado risk, which I think that could change, but we're mainly looking at some damaging winds right now. And then there's a risk for damaging winds in the mid-Atlantic tomorrow. The main hail risk is going to be up there in the northern plains again. Monday, severe weather threat will continue out here, pretty much in the same areas out here in the northern plains and parts of the Midwest. And switch over to our future radar for today. As you can see right here, we're going to have some storms start to develop later today out here. As you can see, we're really going to start getting their act together around 5 p.m. out here, and then they'll kind of move north, and they'll actually turn into more of a bigger line of storms. I actually wouldn't rule out an upgrade to a moderate risk today for damaging winds in these areas, as it is looking like a pretty significant line of storms that pushes through, producing very strong winds. So this is going to be something to keep a very close eye on as they push through. We're going to be seeing bowing line segments, so this is going to be something to keep a very close eye on as these storms move north. So definitely, if you're out there in Bismarck, North Dakota today, you need to be prepared for some of that severe weather. But I think the main storms are going to mainly stay towards your west. And then going down here into the mid-Atlantic, we're going to have some storms out here in the Ohio Valley as well. The main tornado setting up out here in the Nashville, Tennessee area. We'll be seeing some pretty late night storms out here. We got plenty of storm fuel out here to make those storms fire, getting up to like around 3,000 joules per kilogram, potentially up to near 4,000. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Then you can see out here in the parts of the southeast and over here in the mid-Atlantic getting like around 1,000. So we do have enough cape out here for those storms to fire over here, and you can really see all of that storm fuel going all the way up into the plains, which is where we're having all of those storms today. Significant tornado parameter values are pretty decent out there in the plains today, where I do think that we could be seeing a potential for a few strong tornadoes here, as you can see right here. So we could be getting up to like, the levels could be getting up to like around, like they could be getting maxed out here, guys, around a 10 to significant tornado parameter values. So I'm very concerned for some of those tornadoes out here in parts of South Dakota and North Dakota, and even parts of western Nebraska. So you guys definitely need to be prepared. I do think that this area right here within this circle will be the main areas to watch for a few tornadoes today, as we do have plenty of significant tornado parameter values out here, showing almost they're getting maxed out. And another thing that adds on to that, onto the chances for significant tornadoes, is all the wind shear that we're going to have out there, all of that spin that we're going to have in the atmosphere. There's going to be a decent amount of spin out there in western South Dakota today, which is going to lead to some of those storms to try to rotate, those supercells to rotate and produce tornadoes. So there's enough spin out there, and the ingredients are all coming together for a few strong tornadoes. And then going over to our moisture here, we're getting very, like, this is a lot of moisture, getting up to around like 60 degrees, potentially near 70 degrees out here with all that moisture and dew points out here. So there's plenty of moisture surging up into the northern plains, which is an ingredient that you need for that severe weather. There's also plenty of moisture down here in parts of the Ohio Valley for some of those storms, even more moisture than up there in the plains, getting up to around 70. Now I do want to go ahead and check out tomorrow's storms that we could be seeing out there. tomorrow on Sunday, we are expected to see a few storms out there in parts of the northern plains. It's going to be the main area that we're watching. I think there'll mainly be some damaging winds and larger hail, but I think the tornado risk will still be low, so I only think they're at a 2%, but you can see some of those storms that will get out here. So definitely if you're out there in Duluth tomorrow, or even out there in International Falls or Fargo, out there in the northern plains and parts of the Midwest, you guys need to be prepared for some storms tomorrow as they push through. Then the mid-Atlantic and the southeast tomorrow, we're going to have some isolated storms push through. I wouldn't route an upgrade as slight risk, but we're going to have storms push through, producing some damaging winds, and I wouldn't route some very small hail. So that's kind of what tomorrow's looking like. Monday's a little bit more concerning than Sunday. So if we go ahead and switch over to the future radar for Monday here, you can see that we're going to have some more storms start to develop out here in parts of North Dakota. This could be mainly like supercells and clusters of storms, but I wouldn't route that getting into a line. I wouldn't route this getting upgraded to a enhanced risk, but out there even in parts of Canada, we gotta be watching a few storms out there to produce some damaging winds in those areas, so we're gonna have to watch that. Now, we do have a moderate risk of excessive rainfall placed over parts of Kentucky, northern Tennessee, and southern Indiana. We're watching this area very closely for excessive rainfall today, so if you're out there in Bowling Green, even down there towards Nashville and Evansville, Indiana, you guys all need to be prepared for a major chance for flash flooding. And you can see here the National Hurricane Center does have a 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation in 7 days, as they looks like they upgraded it. So that's going to be something to keep a close eye on here, as we're going to have a low pressure system make its way into these areas, and we're going to have to watch that very closely there. Here's kind of what the models are showing for that tropical disturbance out there. We're going to have this area of low pressure that is going to come into places just off the southeast, and that's kind of going to push through those areas, and there could be a chance for slow development out there. I definitely don't think it will be anything too crazy, but it's going to be something to keep an eye on. This is kind of what the GFS is showing. It's nothing too crazy, but if it does develop, probably like a tropical depression to maybe a tropical storm. It definitely won't be anything major, I don't think. And guys, we do got more storm systems as we get into parts of July that is going to move into the United States, as we're going to have these like systems after systems move into the United States, as we're going to get these shortwave troughs moving through, including this one around the 4th of July out here. That we're going to have to watch for that, bringing severe weather, as it's going to suck a lot of moisture up from the Gulf. We're going to have the area of low pressure, and that's going to bring to a potential for severe weather out there in the northern plains on the 4th of July. So we're going to have to watch that very closely. So northern plains on the 4th of July, definitely got to be prepared for severe weather. But even as we get into July, we're going to start seeing lines of thunderstorms push through parts of the Midwest. It's not going to be that big, but we're going to see lines of storms push through out there in parts of the Midwest that are going to be producing a potential for damaging winds as we get these storm systems to move through. So everybody needs to be prepared out there in the Midwest and parts of the northern plains for more lines of thunderstorms as we get into early July. And yes, we do got a heat wave that is going to be moving into the United States. So if you're out there towards the eastern half of the United States, you definitely need to be prepared for those warmer temperatures. If you see these 19 degrees Fahrenheit, I mean, that's cold, but that's not what that's going to be, okay? Those are just like saying how above average the heat is going to be. So it's like going to be, like, for example, Chicago, 14 degrees above average. It doesn't show the actual temperature, but it shows how much above average it is. But we're having a heat wave coming to the United States here that we're going to have to keep an eye on. So if you're out there in the United States, you need to make sure you're staying hydrated, as this is going to last for a while, even as we get into the 4th of July. So if you're going to like those 4th of July parades out there, you definitely want to be making sure you're staying hydrated. That's pretty much all I got for you in today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.